Hi everyone, welcome to week 7. Third try as a charm. I'm going to try this one more time. Haven't been able to get it right yet. Tend to be rambling. Um, Global nutrition is our topic, one of our topics for this week. And I'm going to skip the um, nutrition class aspect of it and jump right into the issues such as undernutrition. Undernutrition is a malnutrition, a form of malnutrition that is a result from either deficiencies in the um, amount of food accessible and able to be eaten, or from poor absorption of the nutrients. A lot of chronic illnesses will result in poor absorption of nutrients. So you look at older individuals that may have diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It's very difficult for their bodies to absorb their nutrients, which often results in undernutrition, malnutrition. The thing that was really surprising while reading this chapter was the staggering numbers of children under 5 that are moderately to severely underweight. We're looking at over 100 million globally. Not surprisingly, a large number in South Asia, a fairly large percentage in sub-Saharan Africa. I was a little surprised by the Middle East and the East Asia and Pacific numbers, but I think it's good proof that undernutrition is a global issue and not just applicable to pockets of the globe. So frequently, those poorer countries, when we think of sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, um, have a lot of poverty, and poverty is definitively linked to undernutrition. Poverty can result in food insecurity, and it's something that does exist globally, nationally, and locally. We have food insecurity even in the Treasure Valley, in the state of Idaho, in the United States. So there's really no place that's immune from that food insecurity. So food security itself is the distribution and affordability of food, as well as the ability to produce food. So again, going back to some place like sub-Saharan Africa, where the environment is not conducive to food production, you're going to have food insecurity. Also, food deserts, places in which there's very limited or no access to healthy food. We see food deserts everywhere. Again, this is a global issue. We have urban places in the United States that may have food deserts. Now, one of the controversial issues within food globally and nutrition globally is the use of GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Sorry, I am still getting over this cold. Um, what they're doing is they're using it in production of food to increase crop yield and provide additional nutrients to foods. Good or bad, there's two sides to this, and I'm going to present both sides. But one of our discussion questions this week will be um, addressing what your stance is on the use of GMOs. So on the pro side, obviously we know, first of all, that a GMO is an organism that has had its DNA altered or modified in some way through genetic engineering. Um, you can equate that with playing God, if you will, but hear me out on these pros, and then we'll go through the cons and definitely form your own opinion on this. So as a result of GMO, we've developed tomatoes that can resist frost and freezing. We've got potatoes that won't bruise and apples that don't brown. I don't know about you guys, but my apple trees are in full bloom and they brown very quickly, and they get mushy and eventually come to a point that they're not edible. About 90% of the soy, cotton, canola, corn, and sugar beets sold in the United States have been genetically engineered. Again, this is causing huge controversies. Um, some people don't like their food messed with, and I'm going to let you form your own opinion. They've adopted an herbicide resistant corn. So it's now about 89% of the corn production in the United States is herbicide resistant. So they've also been able to develop crops that are resistant to pests. So they've reduced the need to spray synthetic pesticides. So again, there's your pros with it. So we've got higher crop yields, genetic changes that make food last longer, add nutrients, um, reduce the need for insecticides. Well, then we've got the cons. So some anti-GMO people refer to GMO foods as frankenfoods. It makes sense if you think about it, like Frankenstein, engineering a result of engineering, and this is what these foods are. So people will argue that GMOs can cause environmental damage and health problems for consumers. Unfortunately, they have not been in production long enough to where we really know what the outcome's going to be. But the Center for Food Safety calls genetic engineering of plants and animals potentially one of the greatest and most intractable environmental challenges of the 21st century. And because we don't know what the long-term outcome is, we don't know what this is going to do to our health overall. So there have been links to toxic and allergic reactions, both in people and in animals, sick, sterile, and dead livestock, and damage to virtually every organ studied in lab animals. So you've got some very definitive reasons on both sides of the argument. I urge you to do a little research if you have the time. Certainly your answer of the discussion question, you don't need to do research, but if you're interested in learning more about it, I urge you to look into it a little bit further. So on the other side of undernutrition, we've got overnutrition, still a form of malnutrition. This is caused by the excessive intake of calories and nutrients. So again, it's a global concern, and this is something that I had not really given thought to until I was reading the chapter, that this occurs even in regions in which undernutrition is an issue. And, let's use the United States for an example. We have pockets of poverty with undernutrition. We have pockets of poverty with overnutrition as well. Some of that overnutrition may be due to the fact that there is a food desert, so there's not access to healthy foods. The foods that are available are prepackaged, processed, very high in caloric, very high in calories, very low in nutrients. So these are some amazing numbers to me. More than 2/3 of adults are considered to be overweight or obese. More than 1/3 of adults is considered to be obese. More than 1 in 20 have extreme obesity, and almost 3 in 4 men are considered to be overweight or obese. I found this on a website. So this was back in 2012. I don't know how much those numbers have changed. I wasn't able to find anything in my quick research. I wasn't able to find anything more recent with these numbers. So this brings us to our other discussion question this week. We are seeing rates of obesity and overweight children increase in staggering numbers. And this is globally. This is not just in the United States. It's not just in the wealthier countries. So why do you think that is? I look forward to reading your discussion question responses, and please see the checklist this week for an explanation on possible extra credit if you do answer more than one question. I should have 3 posted this week. 2 of them relate to Chapter 11. One of them will relate to Chapter 12. And that way everyone has opportunity to make up some of the points that they may have lost on participation or assignments. So I will see you in Chapter 12.